All right, so I wanted to talk about this. So on New Year's Eve, we played almost 10 hours of D&D, which is awesome. Most I've ever played in a day, and it was really cool. So we started Tomb of Annihilation that my wife was running, and the reason for this video, before I even get into all that, is this is kind of a little rant video about myself. I have a tendency to be a little bit of a rules lawyer. Now, that doesn't mean I get mad if people don't play by the rules or that I throw a temper tantrum if people aren't playing by the rules. However, when somebody makes a poor ruling, I tend to step in and say, well, just so you know, this is the actual rule. But you can do what you want, but this is the rule. Like, that's kind of what I do. I have a hard time not doing that. And I don't feel guilty about it, usually. Like, in hindsight or in anything like that, because knowing what your game master or dungeon master are going to rule, especially if they're consistent with the rules, can help you when determining things like special abilities and feats. For example, well, I'll get into the scenario. So we had a frost giant who we were about to fight, and all of us were kind of being cautious, but we were kind of out in the open. There wasn't a good place to really hide or anything, but we didn't run. And in it, a couple of the players wanted to do trigger actions or whatever. And the trigger was, if the frost giant attacks, they want to attack it. My wife is the DM. She was feeding the baby, so she was kind of away from the table because she had to have space, so she couldn't see over the DM screen. And we play with miniatures, which usually makes it so things like this are smooth. Like, you don't have problems with spacing and things like that. So the problem lies with the characters who did the trigger actions moved and then said, I want to hold my attack, unless the frost giant attacks us. So the frost giant made a move towards us. It was still about 40 feet away. One of the players then said, can I do my trigger action now? My wife thought that they closed the distance because she didn't move the giant because she was feeding the baby. We moved the giant its maximum distance. And so she said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And that's when I said, well, just so you know, you've already used your movement. You can't do that. I was like, but if she tells you can, you can. And so then this player, who's my, I guess, wife's sister-in-law, was like, shut up, don't say that, blah, blah, blah. And they were already mad that I pointed out that our monk, his armor class wasn't 17, it was 16, because his modifiers were all off by 1. So yeah, so for example, instead of 10, 11 being a 0, for a 10 it was 0, 11, 12 he was doing 1, 13, 14, 2, so yada, yada, yada. So his modifier were wrong, which meant his armor class was wrong. So anyways, so they were already mad at me for that, but I don't do this in favor of anybody. Like, if I point out a rule thing and it's in our favor, they're all totally fine with it. But when I point out something that isn't in our favor, they get pissed off. And I'm like, I even apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help it. This is just, I have to point it out. Whatever you guys do, I just have to point it out. And so yeah, anyways, it's just how I am. I can't help it. So I guess my point is, in this case, right? So my wife, again, she said she didn't see it. If she saw that in the future, she said she definitely would not allow that, which is good. If she was a DM who would allow that on a regular basis, it changes the game. Like, it ruins the ability of the rogue where they get to use a bonus action to dash. It ruins certain abilities of the game. Like, the monk later on gets the ability to travel further. Like, so there's all these things that I think if you don't abide by the rules, it ruins. Now, I'm just a cleric, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't ruin the effectiveness of my character or anything like that. But I guess I just like the consistency of the rules. And, on one hand, I felt bad in the moment, especially when she was like, shut up, shut up, shut up. And she was all mad that I was like correcting her for not knowing the rules and, trying to get an advantage, which it was a frost giant. We should have ran. We were like first or second level. And then the other thing that I kept my mouth shut right after that is our wizard had cast Grease, and the frost giant was down. And because he kept failing his save to get up or whatever, his dex check to get up, my wife was not giving him an action to attack. She was counting that as his action, which technically to get up is just half your movement. So I don't think you lose your attack action for that. But so anyways, I kept my mouth shut for that because I was like I felt like I was on the defensive after she was like, shut up, shut up, shut up, and I felt really guilty. But after I thought about it more, I shouldn't feel guilty. It ruins the enjoyment of the game for me when people are not going by the rules or understanding the rules. I mean, we've played this game a lot. She's played it in our other campaign. She's played it with others. And she's smart. I know she is. And I know she understands the rules for the most part. I don't know. And like the group also games the system. For example, we've been talking there, like next time we come across a frost giant, we're running because of that rule being wrong about the attacking thing. And it was like, yes, but your character wouldn't do that, especially now that they've already beat a frost giant. Like it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't make sense to do that. And it's a role playing game. I know it's a game still, but it's role playing. And I don't think my character will run. If they all want to run, that's fine. But my character's going to think we can take it. So he's going to fight. And if they want to run, so be it. And I'm not making a cleric again. So, and I know how they feel about clerics. So yeah, it was just, I don't know. But like I said, in hindsight, I don't feel bad. And I'll continue to do it. And I think, and I know it ruins their enjoyment because they get scared that they're going to like die and, they don't want to die. And they're very, like I said, they game the system. It's like winning the game. And that's not how I play. Like I try to play how I think my character would act without being disruptive to the group. If my guy stays to fight a frost giant and they run, that's not disruptive to the group. I'll make a second character and jump in with them later on. But it shouldn't be disruptive to them. So that's just my opinion on that. But am I wrong? Am I crazy? Does that make me a rules lawyer? I know I'm somewhat of like I like to optimize character stuff, but for example, this character isn't even optimized. His stats, which I rolled, are less than standard array and point buy. So, and he's a dragonborn cleric. So he's a tempest cleric. So he's not really optimized. His wisdom, I think, is a 15. His strength is like a 15. Or I don't know. I'm not really that powerful of a character. I'll do another video about that character, though, and about the game itself. But this was just about that. And again, do you think I'm a rules lawyer? Because I've a few times felt like maybe I'm a rules lawyer because I feel the need to correct it. But I don't know. I don't know if that makes me one. Because I don't think I do it to get an advantage or anything. I do it to make sure other people know it because I feel like I would want to know. If I'm messing up a rule, I want to know. Because that's just how I am, I guess. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. And thank you, Tim Harper, for getting the group talking again. I probably wouldn't have done this video if it wasn't for you doing that. So thank you again. This should be up on Tuesday, the 8th, I think. January 8th or something like that. I think that's the date tomorrow. But this should be up then. And if you like videos like this, let me know. I plan on doing more like this, talking about some personal gaming experiences and things like that. And yeah, I'm still at the in-laws' place. Hopefully soon we'll be moved into the new house, and I can do a lot more videos in a more consistent manner with, my setup, rather than holding a phone like this. I'll probably still do videos like this every now and then. Like when I'm inspired, I'm just like, hey, here's my phone. Let's just videotape it. So anyways, this was Master of the Game. I'm Juice. Game on.